February 5, 2025. A hotel in Kenner, Louisiana. Room 434. The door was locked. The lights were still on. The bed, untouched. And on the floor, face down on a pillow, was the body of 27-year-old journalist Adan Manzano. By all accounts, Adan was healthy, ambitious, and at the peak of his career. He had spent the night before exactly as he had planned, covering one of the biggest sporting events of the year. A trip he had looked forward to. A trip he would never return from. At first, the explanation seemed clear. An overdose, they said. A tragic mix of alcohol and prescription drugs. It wouldn't be the first time a young man, alone in a hotel room, had met such a fate. But this wasn't just another statistic. Because when investigators started looking closer, they saw it almost immediately. Things weren't adding up. His phone missing. His wallet gone. And the last person to see him alive? Vanished. Surveillance footage revealed a woman entering his room in the early morning hours. She stayed for just under an hour. When she left, she took more than just her belongings. By sunrise, Adan Manzano was gone. And by the time authorities could piece together his final moments, another name entered the investigation. Someone working behind the scenes. A second suspect. A man moving in the shadows. This wasn't just a tragic accident. It was something else. And today, we uncover the full story, what really happened inside room 434. Because the deeper you look, the more unsettling the truth becomes. Stay with us. And if you want more cases like this, make sure to subscribe. This is just the beginning. To understand what happened that night, we have to understand who Adan Manzano was. Because he wasn't just another visitor passing through Louisiana. He wasn't just another name in the headlines. He was someone with a story, one that should have never ended the way it did. Manzano, a resident of Topeka, Kansas, signed on as a sideline reporter with the Chiefs TV crew at the beginning of the 2024 season. He worked for Telemundo KC and Tico Sports from Kansas City, and was in Louisiana to cover this year's Super Bowl. He was the father of a toddler daughter. Adan was an exceptional professional and a rising star whose dedication and talent reflected excellence in his work, Telemundo KC said of their former colleague. We will deeply miss Adan, his passion for sports and the contributions he made to the local community. That night, Adan had spent hours working. He had been texting friends, checking in with colleagues, making plans for the next day. He was staying at a hotel in Kenner, just outside New Orleans, a quieter, more affordable place, away from the chaos of downtown. Nothing about his night suggested danger. Nothing about his routine pointed to what was coming next. But then, something changed. At 3:47 a.m., Adan walked into his hotel room for the last time. But he wasn't alone. Surveillance footage captured him entering with a woman investigators would later struggle to identify. She followed him inside. The door closed. And for the next 48 minutes, no one knows exactly what happened. What we do know is that at 4:35 a.m., she left. Alone. And by sunrise, Adan Manzano was dead. At first glance, it looked like an overdose. A tragic accident. But something was missing. His wallet. His phone. His valuables gone. The woman, nowhere to be found. And just as authorities began piecing the puzzle together, a second suspect emerged. Someone moving in the background of Adan's final hours. Someone who, according to police, was part of something far more calculated. The deeper you look into this case, the more unsettling the details become. Because this wasn't just a story about a journalist in the wrong place at the wrong time. This was something else. And the closer investigators got to the truth, the more disturbing the picture became. What really happened inside room 434? And who was behind it?
In the hours before his death, Adan Manzano's world seemed perfectly ordinary. On that faithful day, February 4th, 2025, he spent the evening preparing for his Super Bowl coverage, checking in with editors, finalizing notes, and exchanging texts with friends. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but as investigators retraced his steps, the timeline of that final night painted a much darker picture, one that raised more questions than answers. At 11:14 p.m., he sent what would be one of his final messages, a simple text. "Gonna call it an early night, big day tomorrow." But that wouldn't happen. Sometime after midnight, something changed. His text became sporadic. Shorter replies, delayed responses. Then at 2:53 a.m., his phone stopped responding altogether. It was as if in a matter of minutes, Adan's plans for the night had taken a sudden detour. By 3:40 a.m., surveillance cameras captured him walking toward the elevators of his hotel. He looked normal, alert, not intoxicated, not distressed. But he wasn't alone. Next to him was a woman. She was well-dressed, composed, and walked with purpose. She wasn't a random stranger off the street. She was someone Adan willingly brought into his hotel room. And 48 minutes later, she was gone. When authorities arrived later that morning, the room itself told a story. And it was a strange one. The bed was untouched. The sheets were crisp. It was as if Adan had never gone to sleep, but his body was found on the floor, face down on a pillow. His wallet, missing. His phone, gone. Any valuables he had with him? Nowhere to be found. There was no sign of forced entry, no struggle. Nothing that immediately pointed to a violent encounter. But something wasn't right. A toxicology report later revealed a combination of alcohol and prescription drugs in his system. Enough to cause concern, but not enough to be immediately fatal. And yet, Adan was dead. Manzano's alcohol level was 0.232 at the time of his death, almost 3 times the legal limit. So how did he die? Authorities believe the answer might lie with the woman who walked out of his room that morning, but finding her would prove far more complicated than they expected. The woman in the footage was careful. She never used her real name. No hotel records, no phone calls linked to Adan. But she wasn't invisible. Surveillance cameras caught her walking through the lobby, exiting the building, and getting into a car parked just outside. And that's when investigators realized she wasn't alone. Behind the wheel of that car was another person, a man, a second suspect, waiting for her. Who was he, and why was he involved? Authorities began piecing together a theory, a scheme involving deception, manipulation, and possibly even premeditated crime. Because the woman who entered that room, she didn't just happen upon Adan Manzano. She was sent there, and whoever sent her was watching. For days there were no leads, no suspects. But then a crucial discovery changed everything. Adan's missing phone was found, not in his room, not in the hotel, but in the apartment of the woman seen with Adan Manzano. And on that phone, investigators uncovered a single chilling detail. Before Adan went silent that night, he had sent one last text to a close friend. 4 words. "I think I'm drugged." Was this a setup? A robbery gone wrong? Or was there something even more calculated at play? As authorities closed in on their suspects, the case took an even darker turn. Because this wasn't the first time this had happened, and Adan Manzano wasn't the first victim.
The untimely death of Adan Manzano has ignited a flurry of theories and speculations. As official investigations unfold, the public and online communities have delved into discussions, attempting to piece together the circumstances surrounding this tragic event. Authorities have determined that Manzano's death resulted from the combined toxic effects of Xanax and alcohol, compounded by positional asphyxia. 2 individuals have been arrested in connection with his death. Danette Colbert, who was originally charged with fraud and theft following Manzano's death last month in a Kenner hotel room. According to Conley, detectives have now rearrested Colbert on a second-degree murder charge. The 48-year-old was captured on security video arriving at the hotel with Manzano, then leaving alone about an hour later. Police allege Colbert used Manzano's credit card in New Orleans after his death. Investigators later recovered the credit card and Manzano's cell phone at Colbert's apartment in Slidell. According to police, Manzano had an anti-anxiety drug commonly sold as Xanax in his system at the time of his death. Colbert remains in the Jefferson Parish Correctional Center. And then, the second suspect, Ricky White, an alleged accomplice charged with simple robbery and fraud, apprehended in Florida. As investigators push forward, new leads and theories continue to emerge, some pointing to a targeted robbery scheme, others suggesting that systemic oversights allowed this tragedy to happen. Every new piece of evidence sparks fresh debate online, where internet sleuths and true crime enthusiasts dissect every detail, sharing theories and challenging the official findings. For now, Adan Manzano's story remains an open case. a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the hidden dangers lurking behind seemingly ordinary moments. The investigation is far from over, and as more information comes to light, the public is left to wonder, what really happened inside that hotel room on that fateful night? Why did those responsible vanish into the shadows? And could there have been a way to prevent this tragedy? If you found this case as intriguing and unsettling as we did, make sure you check out our deep dive on another baffling true crime story next, where secrets, betrayals, and unanswered questions collide in a case that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more chilling true crime stories that uncover the hidden truths behind headline-grabbing cases. Stay tuned, because the deeper you look, the more there is to discover.